Welcome to Perfectly Paranormal, Episode 7. My name's Annaschmidt, and I'm here every week to share with you true paranormal encounters and information about devils, demons and dark energy beings that no one else talks about. So today we're going to look at brain fog and how paranormal beings use this tactic to mess with our minds. So let's kick off with a story from this year that I've called the Brain Fog Blunder. I needed to drop off some items to a friend, and we both decided that I could meet her at her workplace instead of driving the further 60 k's to see her at her home. With no paranormal interest or intention on this day, it was just to be a quick stop off with a cuppa, some hellos and how are yous, give her the goods and be on my way again. But no. The paranormal gossip vine, as I like to call it, must have been on high alert that day and let every dark entity in the vicinity of Melanie's workplace know that I was going to be visiting that location. And they soon set about with their destructive distraction techniques. So in the early days of my clearing work, I learnt that I needed to have multiple indicators of the location that I was going to, such as handwritten copy of the address. I would look it up the day before and memorise the route to get there. I'd have the address in my phone, and I'd also take my iPad so that I could use the map app if I needed to, if I did get lost. And then these tricky paranormal beings couldn't distract me from finding the place. But now I just take my iPad with me and use the map location app when I'm going to a new place, just in case I couldn't find the house number, the street, or the business location. Now, this device has saved me many times before when paranormal mind fog has hit. So I loaded my car that day with what I needed to take to Melanie, and I went to get in the driver's seat when I instantly forgot where I was going. And I'm standing there with my keys in my hand thinking, where am I going? Am I going to the shop? What am I doing? And I'm like, no, I'm going to see Melanie. There's her things on the seat, and I'm not driving to a house. Where do I need to go? That's right. I'm going to Melanie's workplace. So first off, I put this brain tiredness down to the fact that I'd completed a very large house clearing job the day before. And sometimes I can be quite tired the next day. So I just sat there for a moment and just let myself settle, started the car, and away I went. So I get down the road and I'm heading towards the roundabout, and I need to take the left exit to get on the highway to go to Melanie's workplace. As I approach the roundabout, in my mind I'm going, yep, take the left exit. As I get there, somehow I find myself going round the roundabout and heading home again. And I'm like, what is going on? This is strange. This is really, really strange. I think this is pretty funny as well. I pull over and I'm just sitting there going, like, there's something else at play here. There is something else going on. Now, I never assume anything's paranormal until I've ruled out all other logical possibilities. And in this situation, there is no other possibility other than paranormal interference. So as I'm sitting there, I'm just thinking about driving to Melanie's workplace, and I remember the time that I went to see another client in a street that I had visited many, many, many times through my childhood. And I knew it off by heart how to get there. And I still got lost that day, and I was 20 minutes late. So this is the game that these beings want to play again today. They're going to pull out every single tactic they've got to stop me getting to see Melanie. So I started the car and I kept repeating out loud the highway name that I needed to take, and the turn-off location I needed to use to get to Melanie's workplace. Now, this verbalisation kept my mind on track until I was driving closer to the suburb where the shop was located. And now I had 4 lanes to choose from, and I thought, okay, I know where this shop is. It'll be in the industrial area, in the right-hand lane turn-off, and that's the one I took. Boy, was I wrong. So I drove and drove and drove around in circles for at least 30 minutes, looking for their business logo on the signs that they have above the shops. Do you think I could find it? No. So I pulled over in one of the shop car parks and I looked at my iPad map again. There's the shop, pinging away with that little bright red dot that you see when you look at map apps. And I'm thinking, right, I need to go down this street and that street. And I drive to where I think the shop is, and it's not there. And at this time, my brain was spinning. I felt calm. It's really interesting because I felt calm, but my mind was foggy. My brain was confused. And I had no idea what was going on. Seriously, it was the worst case of brain fog that I've ever had. I was determined that I was not going to ring my friend Melanie. But in the end, I had to. And she said, "Bit lost, are ya?" Chuckling to herself. I could hear her down the phone having a good old giggle. I said I'd been driving around for at least 30 minutes. And she was like, "Yeah, I thought you were a bit late. And I still can't find your shop. And now I'm getting really annoyed." Now, it takes a lot to make me annoyed. Seriously, because I work with paranormal all the time. They're always using sneaky tactics, always trying to upset me. So I've become quite emotionally detached, and it really does take quite a lot to get my back up. And I said to Melanie, look, I'm getting really, really annoyed. I can't focus. My thinking keeps coming and going in waves, and my head feels really, really foggy. I didn't have a headache. It was just like my head was full of cotton wool. So she gave me the street name again and a 3-step instruction to get through the shopping area, cross the highway and get to her location. So off I set again, doing my best to stay calm and not create anger or hostility, which would then attract the spookies, as I call them, that like to feed off those particular emotions. And you know what? I still couldn't follow Melanie's instructions. I mean, seriously, I am not this bad at following a map. Some people may argue with you, but generally I can find my way to a place looking at a map. Anyway, you know what? I thought to myself, I'm just going to drive to the other side of this area and look at my iPad again. And this was the best decision I'd made that day. I simply just threw all caution to the wind. Lo and behold, there's the street right in front of me. And I'm thinking, how did I miss this turn off? So I turned into that street and I drove for about another K and I found their shop car park. And I'm sitting in my car thinking, you little buggers, trying to stop me getting here. I'm not here to do energy work. I'm not interested in any paranormal beings at this location. I'm just visiting a friend. And as I finished saying my slightly annoyed statement out loud, the brain fog hung around for another few minutes and then it started to clear and I started to feel myself again. So I went into the shop and I found Melanie in her office. And I kind of slumped into the chair next to her and she turned away from her computer and said, "What took you so long?" And she had this massive grin on her face. I just looked at her, composing myself and said, "You've got paranormals on this site. It's either in this shop or in one of these shops or in the land. And they have tried to stop me all morning from visiting you." "That sounds about right," she said, grinning again. There's lots of strange goings on in this place, and lots of weird people too. We just looked at each other and laughed. So as I left the shop that afternoon, I was feeling quite unwell in the stomach. And my head was swimming, not in a brain fog way, but in a paranormal presence way. And I said in my mind to the beings that are present at that location, I said, I'm not here to work. Just go about your business. But if you do want help, you can come and find me at my house. You know where I am. Now, I've been back to Melanie's shop 2 or 3 times now, and I've had no trouble finding the location, but I do still feel a bit off and a bit queasy. But I just stand my ground and I greet the paranormal beings, letting them know that I'm just visiting. So I hope you found that an interesting and possibly very relatable experience about sudden brain fog that you've experienced and couldn't explain the cause. If you like the content of this podcast and don't want to miss any future episodes, please subscribe. And you can also share with your friends and get that message out there about these paranormal tricksters in our environment. I would really appreciate it. So now we're going to look at some information about brain fog and why paranormal beings used it. We've talked about one example. They use it as a distraction. They use it to keep us away. They use it if they're feeling threatened. So dark energy beings understand how our energy bodies work, and they can use that against us when they see the need to. This story was a perfect example of what I experience as an energy worker on a constant basis. And dark energy beings don't go around willy-nilly giving everyone brain fog, but they will use it as a starting point if they feel threatened. So these beings can instigate brain fog tactics to distract, confuse, to keep us away from people or places, and sometimes to just let us know that they are present, like I mentioned in the story. So let's look at some ways that you can combat brain fog that might have a paranormal cause. One of the things I like, and I mentioned it in the story, is to always have a plan. I had what I needed written down or accessible in multiple ways. One of the things you can do for yourself is to make sure that you stop, stay calm, and give yourself time to think. Quite often these days we are so busy all the time, rushing here, rushing there. It's no wonder we forget things. And if you can, talk to yourself out loud. I know it sounds crazy, but when you get your thoughts out of your mind and you're saying them, you can actually hear what you need to do outside all that monkey chatter that's going on in your brain. And I find that if I hear what I need to do, I remember it easier. So always remember that if you get brain fog constantly, see your doctor, as there may be a medical or a mental health cause. So when you recognise your personal symptoms of brain fog, you can be aware of how they affect you. Sometimes you might need to back out of a situation or a place, or change your tactics if necessary. Especially if you are in the healing modalities, an energy worker, or doing paranormal investigations, because these energy beings, they don't have control over us. But we just need to be one step ahead by understanding how they work. So brain fog is one of 200 signs and symptoms that I've outlined in my book called The Darkness Around Us. So if you want to read more and understand who these beings are, why they're here, and how they can affect you, you can find my book on Amazon and in Book Depository. You just type in The Darkness Around Us, Annaschmidt, and you'll be taken straight to the link. So in episode 8, we're going to look at physical tactics on the body that dark entities use to frighten people. and a real-life story about why boasting about paranormal investigation can be dangerous. The story highlights ego and how it can get you and others into paranormal trouble. So thank you for joining me today, and don't forget to send me your paranormal questions and stories you'd like to share with the world. You can email me at spiritualbeing44@gmail.com. And for information on paranormal house healing, you can visit my website, Spiritual Being. See the description box for the web address. I look forward to sharing this spooky space again with you next week. And remember, life is perfectly paranormal.